Hello everybody, welcome back to MC Panda, to my Among the Blocks Development Diaries episode 2. Today, the focus is going to be on starting the game, and I'm going to be building my first room, boarding, and all the tasks that's going to be in it. So you can kind of take this tutorial in 3 ways. It's a map making tutorial, because you can see how I'm going to start the game, and also it's going to be a building tutorial because I'm going to be making my boarding room, so you can kind of take some building tips from that. And then you can take it as a command block tutorial because some of the tasks are going to require command blocks. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I've made 2 main changes since the last time. The first one is I've completed the maps. You can see one in the item frame. These took ages to make, but I think they look really, really cool. So if I go into creative quickly, you can see that when we actually go onto the map, the pointer actually moves as you go through the map. So it works completely functionally. It has a key, and each of the rooms has their own room code, which is going to be in your task list. It's going to tell you what the code of that room is. It works really, really well. There's also down here a key that I made to show you what everything is. This took absolutely ages, and it looks cool though. The white are the vent connections, and you'll notice I've got rid of all the letters. These maps are locked, so that you can do that with a cartography table. You can lock the maps with a glass pane, so that you can essentially make changes to this design without affecting the map. That's the first change I've made. The second change was removing all of these letters and that. So we have a blank canvas. Eventually the vent connections will be removed as well. In fact, I can probably even do that now because we've got the map. Might as well use it. So I'll speed up the video while I get rid of all these vent connections. So just like that, we have a completely blank canvas to build our map on. And as you can see, all the vent connections and the letters are still here. I'm going to keep this map on me because it may be useful later. But the way I'm going to structure these tutorials is each episode I'm going to focus on one of these rooms. Or maybe 2 of the rooms, because the small ones like kitchen aren't going to take up much time at all. But I will cover the sabotages and the tasks in each of the room tutorials. So today we're going to do the start game and boarding. So the first thing we actually need is a room for the ghosts to respawn in. So I find a really good block to use for the spaceship floors are lodestones. Top of these look really, really cool, and they look like something you actually see on a spaceship. If you wanted to do something like this in survival, these do cost 1 netherite ingot each, so you have to be very rich to afford this in survival. If you want to build a spaceship in survival, smooth stone also works fine. I don't think it looks as good, but it would still definitely work. Or if you have a lot of iron or an iron farm, you can even use iron blocks. I just use lodestones because they look the best in creative mode. So all we're going to do here is create a ghosts room. Now this is for the sole purpose that this is where the ghosts are going to respawn when they're killed, and there'll be a button they can press to give themselves invisibility in creative mode, and a button they can press to report their body and call a meeting. So what I want to do here is I'm actually going to use again a very expensive block, netherite blocks. Because they had this really cool pattern. Typically, I tend to avoid grid patterns, but this one, it works in a spaceship sense because it looks modern and futuristic. So, Then I'm going to build the rest out of grey concrete. So what we're going to do for lights is we're going to use sea lanterns. They are the most modern light source in Minecraft typically, and they give this really futuristic design, which is what we're aiming for. Now I want to use some polished basalt here as well for the edges. It's quite awkward to build with it, but you want to make sure it's facing up because it's a nice difference to it's a slightly lighter grey, and it makes a nice difference to the dark tones these two blocks. Although having said that, we do want some colour in the build, so I will add that in a second. For this, I'm going to use iron blocks for the blast doors into boarding. So next, this is where the spawn is going to be set, and I need a button to become a ghost and a button to call the meeting. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have two buttons. I'm going to use crimson buttons just because they add a bit of colour to the build. Then we'll use crimson signs as well, and we'll have this one to become a ghost, and then this one over here to report your body. So the way we're going to do the become ghost is we're just going to use some command blocks. So I need to make sure the ghosts can't vandalize because they are going to have creative mode. I'm going to do this by making the player permission visitor, so that's the easiest way. It means they're being creative, but they can't break blocks or do anything. So what we want to do here is we just want to have a redstone line that takes it to two different command blocks. So this is pretty much as simple as redstone. This is pretty much as simple as redstone gets. It's just a redstone line taking it to these two command blocks. Okay, so I've had to play around with the commands bit, but the command you want to set them into creative is /game mode creative at P, which puts the closest player into creative mode. /effect at P invisibility. And then I'm going to go for 10,000 seconds. Games, I don't know how long that actually is. It's quite a while though, considering there's 86,400 seconds in a day. So games really shouldn't last that long. So this now means that if I set myself to survival, this should give me creative and invisibility. I need to take my light off though for it to work. Yep. Okay, so to get rid of the invisibility, we'll provide them just some milk in a barrel. Or shall we go for a barrel, or shall we go for a shulker box? Shulker boxes look better. Yeah, shulker boxes are a very, very good addition to the game because they allow you to have storage in lots of different colours. You're not just restricted to the brown of a chest or a barrel. I think I'll go for a light grey shulker box here. And we'll just fill it with milk so they can just clear themselves of the invisibility when the game is over. So next, we're going to return to the start game button. And I need to essentially teleport you to boarding and set spawn to this room. We also, I'm not sure how to do this yet, but I need to think about some way to make sure the imposters know who the other imposter is. The way I'm going to do that is in the item collection room, I'm going to put a red shulker box. So the crewmate's kind of colour is blue, the imposter's colour is red, and the detective's I'll go for green. So with each of these, I will put a coloured block of concrete to essentially allow them to tell who's who. To allow them to tell who the other imposter or other detective is. I'm going to have to work out some solutions for the ones that aren't actually concrete colours. So my solution, I think, to the... I've had a little think about how I'm going to do the ones that don't have concrete colours. And the way I have thought of doing them is by simply giving them an item that is that colour and renaming it to whatever the colour is. So lilac, I reckon I can honestly use pink concrete for that and just to rename it to lilac. Another thing to point out is obviously the crewmates and the detectives aren't allowed to look in the imposter chest, and the detectives and the crewmates and the imposters aren't allowed to look in the detective chest. So for tan, we're going to use wood planks. For lilac, we're going to use purple blocks, and for grey, we have concrete already. So we just need to rename these two to tan and lilac. So that's how I'm going to make sure the imposters know who the other imposter is, and the detective know who, if there are multiple imposters or detectives, who the other detectives are. So with one of these command blocks, what we want to do is teleport everyone to the boarding room. So to do this, you just need to get the coordinates of the place you want to teleport to. In this case, it's 20, 62, 94. So we just need to remember that. And we want to do /teleport or TP at all, which is at A, which means all players. And then you just put in your coordinates. So ours were 20, 62, 94. And then we need to set the spawn to that little ghost's room. And I have just realised they'll be able to walk into this ghost's room. So I've decided that rather than having this door effect, I'm going to just simply use an iron door. A one-way iron door. So the block we need to set the player's spawn points to is 20, 62, 88. So for this, I believe what you need to do is type the command /spawn point at A, and then your coordinates. We'll just go check that those coordinates are correct. So it is worth double checking, just in case you have got them wrong. So there we go, that seems good. Something else I need to talk about is how it's going to know when you finish your tasks. So this does rely on honesty. What it's going to be is I've decided that the extra purpose for control is that each of the crewmates can pull a lever if they have completed all of their tasks. So it does rely on honesty, but we're only going to be generally playing with close friends anyway, so hopefully people are just going to be honest and click the button when they finished all their tasks. And also remember to turn it off if the cockpit sabotage goes off and they lose some of their tasks. That's why I've decided to put it here, because it's next to cockpit, so people can remember if that gets sabotaged. So now we just need to test that the command block works. You always need to test these sorts of things so that if there's a problem you can fix it easily. We'll start the game and it teleports me to here and sets my spawn point to in there. That worked perfectly. So next what we need to do is build boarding. So I think the way I'm going to do this is similar to the dropship. We're going to have light grey concrete around the outside of the floor and lodestones making up the middle. So in boarding, this is obviously where you start the game. There's going to be a couple of tasks in here. Not many, but I have a couple of tasks to do and some decorations as well. So for the walls, we're going to do the same design as the ghosts room. So obviously the map you can only really make in creative, but if you want to build a spaceship in survival, you can take some of these building tips. And I want to provide some alternatives for the netherite and the lodestones, because don't even try mining this much netherite. It will be such a waste of time, honestly. Don't even try. If anyone can prove that they have cheats off on their world and that they've done this in survival with all the netherite blocks, then I'll be really surprised, because it is so difficult. So obviously, instead of the lodestones, you can use smooth stone. Or if you don't want to have a pattern, you can just use entirely light grey concrete. Instead of the netherite, you can use black concrete, but I don't think it looks very good. Or you can use blackstone. I'm sure blackstone is the best alternative to this, especially if you use polished blackstone bricks. It just works the same as like base block. I like the look of the netherite blocks, but in survival, there is no way you'll be able to do it. So for the ceiling, lodestones work quite well for the ceiling as well. However, I think I want to limit them to the floor here. And then for the ceiling, I'm going to use light grey. So when you do your roof, you need to consider the lighting as well. So obviously we've got our lighting blocks, sea lanterns. The way I tend to do lighting is I put a light in each corner, and then I go around like this. And I also put one, because 3 blocks is fine between these light sources, but there's quite a large gap between these ones. So I'll put one on the middle as well. And then you just fill the rest of it in. I'm not going to do too many details on the roof, but there we go. So this is the design of the boarding room. Obviously, it's only going to be really done once the corridor's done, so you can just see out into the sky. We've just got to imagine corridor going that way, corridor going that way, corridor going that way. And the tasks I'm going to do in here, the first one is an ID card scanner, which is going to be on a kind of table here. So there we go, you need to make sure that the stairs, you need to make sure they're all facing the right way so that it creates this nice table effect. And then the way I'm going to do the ID card scanner, we're going to have a dropper. You put the card in. Then we're going to have some redstone lamps. Now, I'm not very good at redstone. If you are better at redstone than I am, what you could do is have it so that it has to detect a certain ID card, and it only verifies it if it is that ID, if it's that exact ID card with that exact item name. If you do want to build an Among Us version in Minecraft, you could do that. I'm not. I'm just going to have it. So you put your ID card, or it would obviously work with any item in here. And then you press this, these lights mean it gets verified and it gets passed back to you. That is how simple the task is going to be. Literally like this. And then the two other tasks I wanted to do were two kind of medium tasks. One of them is to take a cargo box from here and move it over to storage. And the other is to take a register of who's here and to take it to admin. So, and these shulker boxes, I'm going to use brown shulker boxes, and they're going to have a fairly random assortment of items in them. I'm not going to fill them with items for now. I'm just going to put them in. I'll fill them with items at a later date. Just because I think it's going to be very boring on camera. You pull this lever, you get the shulker box, and then you're going to need a pickaxe to mine these. So I believe I think what I'll do is put a barrel just here, which has in it a iron pickaxe. Then you'd break this away, get another one, break that one away, get another one, and then you take those cargo boxes to storage to a special area. There's that task. Next we have take register. You're going to have to go around the map and see all the colours that are here, and then you're going to have to come back to boarding. Once you're fairly sure you know everyone's colour, you go back to boarding, and then you take the register to admin, and then I want some way for it to detect if you've got it right or not. And it's also a good task because they'll go looking for people around the ship, and they could potentially see who the imposter is. So for this task here, we need another table over here, and on it we need the register pretty much is going to be a shulker box, which you take. I'm going to use a white one because it's kind of like a paper folder, and then you're going to have a barrel here which has every single different colour in it. I need to rename these all again, and I can't be bothered to at the moment, so I will do that off camera. And then what you'll do is you'll need to select who's in it, out of all the 15 colours, you need to note down who's here, put them in this box, and then take it off to admin. So yeah, that is pretty much the tasks that are in here. I want to put up a couple of other decorations, like for example the map of this place. I want to put that on the wall. In fact, I might even change these spruce tables to polished andesite, because you wouldn't really have wooden tables in a spaceship, to be honest. So yeah, these design decisions do matter, because it helps. If you have wooden tables in a spaceship, it can kind of ruin almost the whole feel of the build. So there we go. These panels look much more modern. I'll put like a couple of maybe desks here. These are like computers. Yeah, these could be computers. So we'll just add a bit of plant life in the corner, and then I reckon this place will be pretty much done. So I'm actually, rather than dirt, I'm going to use soul soil because I think it looks a lot more interesting, and also it gives the impression that it's been watered, because dirt looks a little bit dry, whereas this looks more kind of muddy and watered. And it also works for the spaceship, I think, just to get it just to make it look a bit different, because I feel like if it was dirt, it would almost feel too much like a normal building. So there we go. We have leaves, we have some leaf decorations just to add a bit of colour. The maps and the chairs do that as well. And I reckon this is boarding pretty much done. We have all the tasks. The final thing we're going to do before we end the video is add some signs to these. So that is boarding completely finished. So the episodes in future will probably be a bit shorter than this one. We just needed to do the ghost room as well. And each of the episodes, I'll be working on one of the rooms. Next episode, I'll probably be either doing storage or medical. So yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and if you want to see I don't have my light on, and you want to see the continuation of this game. And I will see you all next time. Goodbye.